Good morning, good evening, and welcome to World of Warships. My name is Robin, and today we will be sailing and reviewing the Tier 8 Japanese premium cruiser, Atago. But first of all, thank you very much for tuning in the video. I really appreciate it, and I hope you would enjoy your time here. Atago might be the oldest dog in World of Warships, not only being the first Tier 8 premium being released in the game at the end of the closed beta, this gorgeous looking cruiser also managed to age like a fine wine, remaining unique, somewhat competitive and relevant at her tier, all the while enduring the various updates and balance changes or even the numerous mechanics World of Warships implemented since her appearance. It's actually a surprise that it took me so long to feature this vessel on this channel, but here we are, with a very good game to showcase and all the motivation in the world to make this show look good with the glorious graphics of 2023. So, without further ado, let's take the Atago to battle. And here we are, sailing under the warm sunset of Two Brothers domination mode. We spawned on the southeast part of the map, near Objective Delta, and well, bypassing the replay, being bugged out and not showcasing the team lineups, we are facing Tier 6 matchmaking. There are, on the other hand, a carrier and 2 submarines on each teams. With this in mind, we start making our way to a semi-aggressive position on the 9-10 line, using our excellent concealment and speed. From the time of this battle, I had not played Atago for years, and almost forgotten about her magnificent looks, but most importantly, her speed and agility. Yes, the guns are slow in both their reload, velocity and traverse speed, with less than ideal firing angles and rather awkward turret layout, but their HE shells are extremely potent in terms of both damage and fire chance. Combining these two features makes for some very dynamic gameplay, as you are able to chase or run away from most of the competition, with a balanced approach between hit-and-run tactics, flanking maneuvers, stealth toping or light brawling. Atago also gets access to 7-kilometer range ASWs, which will come in handy during this battle. Speaking of submarines, our own U-190 has had a late spawn, forcing us to take it easy on the flank since the spotting advantage will not be on our side. The enemy carrier is also already scouting the flank, depriving our friendly Nürnberg from almost half her HP as both the enemy Amagi and Helena open up on her. The game has barely begun that we are already on the defensive, with the Nürnberg scrambling to get to cover and ourselves already starting to kite away. Enemy Ignacio Allende is revealed on the flank as well, and while not an extremely scary cruiser for us, he could be trouble for our submarine. Now, and one thing Atago does not have for sure though is an efficient anti-air suite, as we struggle to shoot down more than just a few Tier 6 planes after they've been into both our and the Nürnberg's bubbles. We are at least able to make use of our very fast rudder to evade the drop. And just like that, barely 3 minutes have passed and each teams are down a cruiser. Friendly Nürnberg going down and our Tier 8 Nebraska wiping off the enemy Gokase. Almost feels like Tier 6 cruisers are not doing very great versus Tier 8 matchmaking, right? Anyway, our impact on this flank is rather limited. We can't really push as the enemy has the position advantage. 2 light cruisers behind cover, Amagi with dangerous overmatch, an enemy submarine somewhere, and well, the Zara who was coming to reinforce before getting death-struck by our friendly Alabama. With our submarine still uninvolved with the current fight on 9-10 lines, I am just being a bit cautious. We have yet to see signs of the enemy submarine on this flank, and well, as I say this, we get a ping on the surface shortly. Now, the replay will not show it, but I am using the Submarine Pinger on Minimap mod by Autospy, available on Mod Station. So, I am able to see all submarine activity directly on the minimap instead of having to rely on standard vision. A must-have mod in my opinion, but all of this to say, if you see me ping on the map, I am simply relaying the information the mod is giving me to my team. We also have battleships on this flank with longer range ASW airstrikes, so I am hoping they will try and use them on the markers. Meanwhile, we have not been very efficient with our gunnery. The slow shell velocity of these 8-inch guns makes for challenging hits on maneuverable targets, and I am also trying to take as little damage as possible early on, forcing me to maneuver and not make use of all my turrets in the most ideal conditions. I am trying to catch broadsides with armor-piercing loaded, but poor aim on my side and evasive actions from my targets yields no good results. So, as of right now, I am simply kiting away since there are no real other options, Amagi being just too dangerous to mess around with, hence why I haven't tried to turn back in yet. But as I am getting closer to our home spawn, my APF, which was pointing at Helena so far, suddenly takes a brand new bearing, right down the middle. This could be anything, really. An unspotted ship that took cover near E4, a submarine that may have surfaced next to A, or potentially one going down the middle. Glancing at the minimap, I am seeing both the caps stalled for now, with teams contesting or fighting around them without any results outside of trading shots and HP. So, I make my decision. Instead of trying to help either side of the map, I will run my own little investigation on what this new APF indicator is and try my luck with a good old two-brother middle push. We have the speed in our favor. Pushing 37 knots, Atago can reposition herself very quickly, so I might be able to just catch anything going down here by surprise, but the more distance I cover, the more I ask myself, whatever is located should be spotting me by now, so it must be behind cover. And only after paying attention to the direction from which enemy planes are coming from, I understand that I may be tracking the enemy carrier, which technically has yet to be spotted. Now, Tier 6 Ryujo is a very stealthy ship, so I would not be surprised if her captain decided to take an aggressive position to have a bigger impact on this Tier 8 matchmaking, instead of sailing towards the usual carrier position all the way behind spawn. A commendable decision, unfortunately not taking into account a maneuver such as mine. I have the complete element of surprise and already have switched to AP. The moment we activate our sonar, though, is when we get confirmation. Now, of course, carriers being spotted automatically launch a group of fighter plane, which in return are going to reveal our position almost instantly and light me up for the entire enemy team to see, but I think it's too little too late. Regardless of the reaction from their team, this carrier is toast and I will make sure it goes down before I do. We have an enemy Repulse to deal with though. She is the second closest enemy after Ryujo. But the British battleship is only armed with 15-inch guns, which our deck and casemate can easily bounce. As long as we remain angled from her, we should be safe from any critical damage. Using the unusual torpedo layout of Atago, we can stay angled while firing the front set, though a close-range encounter with a carrier is so rare in this game that I actually have no idea where to shoot, and our first salvo just overpans. We do also take a big hit from Repulse, mostly in the superstructure, though we are able to heal that right back up. In the meantime, our torpedoes have destroyed the Ryujo. Funnily enough though, our APF doesn't point at Repulse just yet, something I didn't even realize at this time. The enemy North Carolina has sailed all the way to the 1-2 line, essentially allowing me to 1 versus 1 this Repulse. I could turn away and run, using my concealment to fall back towards Delta, but our team, by just losing our friendly Alabama, is not doing well in that area. She did just trade with the enemy submarine there, on the other hand, which might allow our Fuso to survive a while longer. Nah, I get lucky. Friendly Rangers dive bombers, with excellent timing for us, will spot the enemy U-190 at periscope depth, allowing us to send both our ASW charges his way while we maneuver to turn our ship around and use cover against the British battleship to try and bring our next set of torpedoes to bear. 2 depth charges hit, 1 direct, 1 splash. Torpedoes out towards repulse as a submarine ping misses us and we reply with more airstrike. We angle just in time for Repulse's salvo to mostly bounce, as we also evade torpedoes. The British battleship, on the other hand, doesn't have that luxury and goes down for our second kill of the game. This frag actually allows us to go dark again, isolating ourselves with this German submarine. No point turning away. He would have the spotting advantage at periscope depth, or he could even get away. I want to close the distance as much as I can while undetected to have the element of surprise if he would decide to surface again, which he does. Oh, we have him dead to right. Even with our sonar down for another few seconds, we can use this island to maneuver around him and prevent any shotgun attempts, while our ASW score more hits. But we don't really need sonar, the proximity spotting is enough actually. Although I slightly underestimate the maneuverability of this submarine, and if it was not for that very last splash damage after our main battery hit, he possibly would have gotten angles for his torpedoes. End of story is, he doesn't, and our decision to push the middle on Two Brothers actually works extremely well for our team. Tell me, hey, how often can you say you pushed that gap and got rid of not only the enemy carrier but also an enemy submarine, hey? Repulse is just details, though we still have work to do. Our team is winning by points, even if we only have our home cap still. I have a choice to secure Bravo, which would take a minute for something we don't crucially need, or stay on A and help my team secure it while screening for remaining ships nearby. I choose option 2, with the friendly Nebraska sailing back to sea in order to aid our Fuso. Enemy North Carolina, second survivor of this flank with an Edinburgh, is spotted and we engage. Now, we have to trade carefully as our armor does not provide protection from that sort of caliber, but at this range we can evade these slow shells with relative ease. We are able to comfortably return fire on the American battleship, but the British light cruiser, tucked in behind an island, could prove to be a problem, especially if I keep pushing into crossfire. I have a limited window to turn back and reset the engagement in a safer way, where I can outspot Edinburgh and deal with her separately without North Carolina interfering. The British cruiser decides to smoke up. We are in range for torpedoes and we send both our set before turning away. AP was loaded and we are able to send a parting salvo that will land for a citadel and grant us the high caliber medal. The Edinburgh smoking up actually is a blessing for us. Would she have decided to pick a fight with me, I would have been forced to kite, and considering I'm already half HP after the repulse engagement, that would not have been ideal. But now, we can turn straight back in and close up the distance where we will put the British light cruiser at a disadvantage, all the while creating an even wider crossfire on North Carolina. Our torpedoes don't look too bad either, and it doesn't take long for us to score not only 1 but 2 hits, surprisingly not finishing off Edinburgh even after all the damage we dealt to her. An attempt to secure the kill by blind firing on the torpedo hit location goes amiss, but free of charge since North Carolina was behind an island and we remain undetected. Charging the smoke with our hydroacoustic activated, we are looking for a decisive engagement. After taking that much heat, there is no way the Edinburgh stands a chance, and we briefly get a glimpse as she tries to make a break for it. Enough for a salvo and enough for a kill, though this reveals us to North Carolina this time. On the other flank, Ignacio has went down, so did our Fuso, and only North Carolina remains afloat on the enemy team. A pretty flawless push so far with Atago. 4 kills, 170,000 damage dealt, but something's missing, and that's a Kraken. I will go to the trouble of asking my team if they can let me have it at this point, because why not, as we evade another 16-inch salvo. I reconcile to try and get the attention away from me, only to strike back shortly after, setting another fire and earning Confederate this time. But North Carolina is no fool and knows perfectly that even if the game is a loss for her team, she can still punch her weight, and oh boy, does she do exactly that. This time we're not dodging, and one shell will find itself right into our citadel after penetrating our bow. Whoops. In the end, regardless of me going down or not, the game is still a win, though I get reminded that Atago has weaknesses and that super heavy AP shells will make short work of a heavy cruiser like me, with few exceptions. We are still in the fight though, our heal allowed us to recover just a bit from that hit, and we are able to send some torpedoes that could potentially seal the deal, though another attempt at evading almost ends up in disaster as the North Carolina punches us again and leaves our ship with just above 100 HP. I should have went down right there, if you ask me, though we are allowed a couple more salvos, one of which will set a PEMA fire and make sure this North K goes down. Friendly Nebraska actually will hold on her HE dive bombers to let that fire tick, and well, even if the US battleship parting salvo finishes us off, we do indeed get our greedy Kraken and close the chapter of this game on Two Brothers with a victory. 208,000 points of damage dealt, almost 50,000 XP earned, and over 2 million credits gained. We achieved Confederate Devastating Strike, Kraken Unleashed and High Caliber out of 183 shells, 5 torpedoes, 8 fires, a citadel, 4 depth charge hits, and 3 floodings, sinking 5 ships in the process. Over 3,000 base XP, a very satisfying top-tier Atago game that hopefully had you entertained, or even nostalgic about this old guard vessel that, well, even in 2023, can make a lot of waves on the already troubled seas of World of Warships. Let that be a decent example of how the ship can be commanded. With that said, this episode is coming to an end. Thank you very much for watching it all the way through. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not, well, thumbs down. But stay tuned anyway. As always, there will be more content to come about World of Warships. Until next time, you have a good one, and you take it easy.